Evening, sir.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Very good evening. How are you all doing? All well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If all
Okay,
exams
great.
goes well, we are well, sir.
All exams goes well. You are well. So are we actually. Your exams is actually it's a testimony for our teachings and our this thing. So anyway, I hope let's not discuss about how the exam the cliche, right? Let's not discuss about how your paper went. How was it? What did you do? Did you write full? Did you write the question paper? Did you attend the entire paper? Let's not discuss because it's dangerous to you, dangerous to me as well. Especially if people are start asking audit. So what happens if I ask this question? So others will also ask audit. That's where I am also concerned. So let me not ask those questions. But don't get carried away by any of those things which have happened so far. Just take each exam as one day at a time. No, we'll say one day at a time, one thing at a time. So take audit as your first ever paper that you're writing. So with the same Josh, you have to appear for the examinations. So welcome to the CAPS CA final R2R, refresh to relax. I don't know whether you're relaxing really or you're really tensed, but I am actually tensed. Tomorrow is day after tomorrow is audit. No? I actually saw this poster 2-3 times. If I miss this session, will I miss this session? So anyway, so that's that. Without miss, we are back here. So this is your first ever theory paper. No, FR and your SFM are hardcore practical papers. So your approach will definitely be different. And now we are heading into the most standard theory paper. Let's understand this because auditing, everybody knows how the subject is because of the volume, because of the content, because of the irritation that we have had for the past few days in the class. You find it's a bit overwhelming, but anyway, things will anyway come to an end by tomorrow. So now, so your approach towards the subject should slightly be different because we are writing a theory paper. So have that in your mind, and this is the first theory paper. Your flow of thought should be very, very clear. So they say brevity is the soul of wit. So same way audit also. Brevity is what is expected. So don't start writing all the stories that we have heard so far in the class, outside the class, all the Ramayana, Mahabharata, and all the Puranas. Let it be there outside. You know, you write, you don't also write something relevant to it, but don't elaborate as if you're trying to write one literature book. Nobody is interested in reading the literature. So that's the thing. So let's start directly. See, I have not prepared a PowerPoint presentation or anything. So I am not good in that. So it's going to be just plain black and white how your question paper will be also. And also I don't have any, special quotes for you to motivate because all the quotes have already been told by others and some more are to come for the next few sessions. So I have not really kept any quotes for myself. So I'll have to tell something that becomes quote tomorrow. So you can use it tomorrow for your other sessions. The great person Siddharth says ABC, you can start the quote. So now let's start with, can the host please allow me to do the needful? Do the honors, what I can say. So before even getting into it, first 10 minutes, you have to relax. See, looking at my face only, you are a bit tensed. That is something I can't do anything. I have already told you, you have to bear with me. But let's relax for some time. Are you all happy, first of all? You look so sad. What happened? Everything is well? Yes, no? After 7:59, things are going on well, but I don't know what happens after 8 o'clock. Right? Yes, sir? Ashok, sir.
Yes, sir. We're all happy, sir.
You're all very, very happy. Okay, so that's the spirit. And then now let's start with the indicative order. So please tell me if you can see the screen. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay, great. See, what I have done is it's just the indicative order of study. That doesn't mean that you have to stick to this only. So what I have done is I have taken the list of all the chapters from your material. And see, the biggest problem in our examination is what we have to do the day before exam. So this happened to me a lot, especially for costing paper. See, what happened when we were writing? No, there was a holiday, intermittent holiday for some UPSC examination. So they postponed the costing exams to the last. Actually, it was paper 5. So they postponed it to the last day. So even IDT got over, the last day thing will be there, last exam. I literally couldn't read anything. It's not that I didn't want it to read it. I didn't know what to read. I used to open practice when it was this big. And costing is a practical paper, so you would know what are the challenges involved. So I literally couldn't read anything. So I just went and wrote the examination. So this is the problem that we all face. I don't know, so overwhelming. So we'll be inundated with so many concepts. I don't know what to read. With that pressure only, we'll not read. That is what will happen. But you know what? The last 1.5 days that we have, out of which one hour you're spending with me. So thank you so much for giving 1 hour of your precious time. I know, I understand so important it is. So I don't want that to go for a waste. So I've just created, or rather I've made a note of all the indicative chapters and the order of study. So this is only based on my experience and based on the previous year papers pattern. So you can never predict. Like CA exams is equal to Bangalore's weather. No? So it's the same. You can't predict. This morning it will be sunny, evening it will be winter, and night again it goes back to the rainy mode. So we can't really say, but based on certain precedents, we have done this. So the first thing today, I know you are just done with one of your exams, and I know how stressful, strainful it would be after writing one exam. If you can manage to read today, if you are having that plan in your mind, please first take up professional ethics. Please do take up professional ethics. If not now, tomorrow first in the morning, start with professional ethics. The reason is, it's pretty simple to understand, and especially after Shetty sir's Sapphire, Haka, POSPA, FCA thing, it's even more easy for you to remember the clause. So you can see here, you need to be very, very careful to write the proper clause number, schedule number, part, everything. Now, you don't get confused. See, there are two things here. One, see, the questions can come either from the CA Act as such, like section 22, section 2. So you need to be very careful. Is it a question addressing CA Act, or is it a question addressing schedules to the CA regulations? And there is one more thing called Council Regulations of 2008. Right? So you're aware of this, right? So Council Regulations. Questions can come from any of these. And one more concept, new concept, no-CLAR. No-CLAR is there, right? So no-CLAR is what? Non-compliance with laws and regulations. Right? This is a new concept which is introduced. So whatever is new should always be the focus. So this is how you have to divide. So first, take up, we'll go each and every chapter wise, but I'm just giving you the glimpse. First, let's complete the professional ethics. If you can complete it by end of day today, nothing like that. If not tomorrow, you can complete, but try to complete this first and master this. Then quickly take up company audit. The reason is these two chapters are very, very simple, and it makes you active. See, there are certain concepts which makes you a bit bored. You might feel that these topics are very boring because there's only pointers. Like there are a few chapters like PSU audit, internal audit, management audit, due diligence. All those are only pointers. So you kind of like feel that I'm not able to concentrate. So take up those concepts where the activity from your end is higher, which makes you active. So today the fatigue will be there. So if you want to take up company audit, complete it. Or if you want to take professional ethics, start professional ethics. Under company audit, what are the important areas, sections for you to compulsorily, I mean, I'm telling you, all the sections are compulsory and important, but these are something which is very, very essential for you to know for sure. 143 subsection 3, compulsory for you to know. Very, very important. And then 143 subsection 3, special focus on IFCFR. What is IFCFR?
Internal financial control over financial reporting.
Very good. Internal financial controls over financial reporting. What is important is those conditions, the applicability of IFCFR. There is an exemption for private limited companies based on their turnover and borrowings criteria. So that is very important for you to remember. That is a possible area for MCQ as well as a descriptive question. Then you have to refer to Rule 11 of car rules. I'm expecting one question this time. I know I have a strong feeling. What is this Rule 7? This is again coming from 143 subsection 3 clause J. Other matters as may be prescribed. So earlier we had how much? Only 3 points, 4 points. SBN, specified banking notes, was only year specific, demonetization, and then only we had 3 things. So now it is widened to include additional 2 clauses as well. And next year, if you come, we'll have one more thing. Audit trail will be there. So Rule 11 talks about what? Litigations, LLP, material foreseeable losses, including the derivative contracts. Then third one is delays in transferring monies to IEPF, Investor and Protection Education Fund. D is omitted, which is the specified banking notes. And then talks about Rule E. Remember, we even had an elongated discussion on this, including referring to some examples. So please do read this Rule E, round tripping. See what this clause simply says. Now I am the party. I want money to come to me, but if I directly do that, there will be a problem. So what do? I route it through various intermediaries, and it again it comes back to me. So all those transactions, the entities, now the companies are required to report in their financial statements. Now, as an auditor, you have to see whether they have reported and are there any misstatements to it. One, if you are doing this, if you are a funding party, that means what? You are giving money where the money is getting transferred to various places and it comes back to you. Then the second one is what? You are the intermediary. There are parties, no funding party, ultimate beneficiary, this is the same person, and the intermediary who does it. So if you are an intermediary, reporting comes under second clause. If you are the funding party, it comes under first clause. Please be very careful. Loans, guarantees, investments are covered. Now, guarantees is very important when it is invoked. That is very important. Remember, we even solved one example in the class. And then next one, I think I have missed mentioning here. What is next one? The next one is dividends. If the company has declared any dividends, then the provisions of section 123 is complied with. So I've already revised with you the Rule 11. So you need not go back and revise it exhaustively. So you have to now go by this. So then you have to go through, in company audit only, please go through section 138 along with company's rules. What is 138?
Internal.
Very good. Internal audit, very, very important from the examination perspective. We have seen at multiple places where they've asked the applicability of internal audit, to which companies it is applicable. We made a chart, right? So listed companies, irrespective of your turnover, borrowings, capital, it is applicable. Public companies and private companies. So what is the mnemonic that we made? The profits before taxes. So start with 25, multiply with 2. Deposits are 25. P means what? Paid up capital of 50. Means borrowing 100, turnover of 200. Right? So for private companies, it's only BT.
Borrowings and
ITBT. Remember, ITBT companies, it's only the BT. This is very, very important. Normally, you can expect certainly one question from either in MCQ area or in a descriptive area. So this covers your all 143, and I have not covered 141 subsection. I have already covered 141 subsection 3. What I have not covered is 143.1. What is 143.1?
3 matters, sir.
Proprietary matter.
Sorry?
Proprietary matter.
Perfect. Very good. Proprietary elements under Companies Act, right? So they may, and it is also called inquiry points. So there are 6 points that an auditor is required to ask. Loans and advances, transactions represented by book entries, whether loans are shown as deposits, personal expenses have been charged to revenue account, and then whether shares have been issued for consideration in cash. If not, the position is properly reported. Whether company, not being an investment company, so much of its assets consist in shares and securities have been sold at a price lesser than the acquisition, because that means it is sold at loss. These are the points that you need to remember. Remember, they might ask you a question in a different manner. They might ask you, what are the proprietary elements in the Companies Act? It might be coupled with government audit also. Remember, in government audit, we have proprietary audit, and there are certain principles of proprietary audit. Remember, this can be asked as a mixture of that particular standard, the question. So please be mindful of that. So the rest of the sections 139, what is important under 139 is the casual vacancy of the auditor. Okay, that is very important. And I have not included 140. That is also very, very important. What is 140? Removal of auditor. Removal, resignation. Very important. 140 subsection 5. If the auditor is abetted in any fraud, what is the consequence? That is very, very important. This gets covered under the liabilities of auditor chapter. See, they have made different chapters. It might look that there are so many chapters for me to remember, but if you think about it, the liabilities of auditors are all the Companies Act sections, Income Tax Act sections, and certain case laws. So the in that, what is the focus? The focus is 140 subsection 5, where the tribunal may ban the auditor from being appointed as an auditor for 5 years. Remember, if he proven fraud, and he's also liable for consequences under section 447. That is what you have to remember. Now that covers our, and very important, 148. 148, what is 148? Cost audit. Very important is the applicability of cost records and cost audit. Make it into 2 parts. Remember, these are the possible areas for you to, for them to ask either in MCQs or in descriptive. So that is what you need to focus in Companies Act. I think Companies Act pretty, you will all be strong. 139 to 148 would have read multiple times, but these are the special focus that you have to do. Now, don't sit and read all the sections. Now, what you have to read is all the limits, because limits everybody will forget. So now sit and read the limits, make a note somewhere, just scribble it down. It's not necessary that you have to write it in a beautiful manner. Scribble it down so that you remember what is the limit. That closes our company audit. By doing so, what are we going to achieve? With each hour, we have to target some marks. So probably by doing this, 14 plus 8 marks is completed. So by this, company audit will not take much of your time. So if you are okay now, you can complete company audit, but I suggest professional ethics because that's more important than company audit. Company audit, at least something you can write. See, assuming that you couldn't read it, but you will definitely know something in company audit to write. So that doesn't mean that you don't read. You have to read to get the quality answer. But I'm telling you, focus should be like this. Then CARO 2020, you can expect at least 2 questions. Why? Because it's the hot cake. Right, everybody are talking now. Some of you would have just completed the tax audit or the transfer pricing audits or the statutory audits. You know, CARO 2020 is there. So much is the impact on the CARO. So now CARO, how do we remember? We have already made a chart. So that I'm going to share it with you. See, this is only for us to help. It doesn't mean this is not a foolproof mechanism. So what is the chart? Fill the cost records, take the DD, pay the PF of non-residents in INR because it's a credit balance, and all these questions might be asked in MCQ. So what is the first clause? Fixed assets. Then it talks about inventories. Then it talks about loans. LGSI. Then it talks about loans. Then it talks about deposits. Acceptance of deposits and compliance with the Companies Act. Then talks about cost records. Please connect it with 148 read with Rule 3 of CRA rules. Okay. Then this is important. Statutory dues. Whether the entity is regular in paying the statutory. Be mindful. There are 2 things: disputed and undisputed. Disputed, forum where the dispute is pending. What year? Which financial year? Which act? What is the amount? Undisputed, are there any dues which are outstanding for a period of how many months?
6 months.
6 months.
As on the date of the balance sheet. So as on the date of balance sheet, it should be outstanding for 6 months. The age should be 6 months. Let's say March 31st March liability GST, they still have not paid. That September you are finalizing, they have not paid. Will that be reported? No. It might be 6 months old. It may not be paid at all. But as at March, is it outstanding for 6 months? No. So that will not be reported. Be very careful. Sometimes question might ask you on the areas where reporting is not needed. So you have to be very careful. Reporting is not required. Then undisclosed income under income tax. If you have disclosed anything under such proceedings, that needs to be reported. Take the DD. The next D is what? Defaults and repayment of loans and borrowings from banks and financial institutions or any lender. Lender-wise details should be provided. Then PF talks about private placement, preferential allotment, issue of shares, and end use. Remember, even in LODA regulations, we have statement of deviations, right? So you can connect that. So private placement and preferential allotment. And F talks about fraud. F talks about what? Fraud reporting. Connect it again with what? 143 subsection 12. subsection 12 read with rule 13 of companies audit and auditors rules. That's very important. Then talks about NR. N talks about Nidhi companies. So you have Nidhi rules in law. So somewhere you would have read. So what is important is the ratio is to be 1:20 and 10% should be in net owned funds is to deposits. Net owned funds is to deposits ratios 1:20. They might ask you even in MCQs, and 10% should be in TDs. And are there any defaults in repayment? Then we talk about R. R talks about related parties. Two things are covered, 177 and 188. Why 177? Audit committee. Related party transactions. This is also connected with your LODR regulations, audit committee requirements. Then in INR, I talks about internal audit. Again, you can connect with 138, whether the internal audit system is commensurate to the size. Then talks about non-cash transactions. Then registration under section 45 IA of RBI Act. Then CR, credit. C talks about cash losses, whether the entity has incurred any cash loss. R talks about resignation of the statutory auditors. Which form to be filed? Form number ADT 3. 4 is for fraud. Okay. Then MCQ. M talks about material uncertainty. Again, you can connect with SA 570. And then C talks about CSR. Again, 135 section. CSR is very important. I'm expecting a question this time. CSR. And then qualifications by the auditors of the subsidiaries, associates, joint ventures, which are included as part of consolidated financial statements. Two areas where you can expect question. Very important. The applicability of CARO. It is not applicable for a banking company, insurance company, Section 8 company, small company, one-person company, dormant company, and private limited company having paid up share capital and reserves of less than 1 crore and turnover of less than 10 crores. This is not applicable. That is very important for you to remember. So with this, we complete the entire company audit requirement. Next, you please go through the audit reporting standards. Very, very crucial. Especially I've told you in the class also, please, at least if you have not written, go through the opinion and basis for opinion. For one modified, one unmodified, one under modified, qualified, adverse and disclaimer. They might ask you to draft opinion paragraph. CA final, they will ask you generally to draft because that is what you're going to do in the future. So please, now under audit reporting standards, audit report chapter, what I should complete? You should complete 700, 701, 705, 6, 570. What is 570?
Going concern.
710 is very important, and 720. What is 710? Comparative figures corresponding to the financial statements. Now, under 700, 701, 767, we have marked certain important paras. Remember in the class. So those paras, you please go on reading. If you read that much, it's more than enough. Understood? So next, you have to take up peer review and quality review. After completing the audit reporting standards, you please take up the peer review and quality review. These two are fairly simple. Chapters to cover. Now, what are the marks that we would be targeting in peer review and quality review? You can expect 5. Because of late, the focus on peer review has become higher, and quality review. Difference between peer review and quality review is important. Difference between peer review and quality review is important. Then please take up consolidated financial statements. Now that FR paper is already done, you are experts in 110, right? So you know what are the consolidation process. You know how AS21 works. So for you, what you have to read? What you have to read is just that the reporting aspects and the see, remember that summary notes we have made. It is there in your caps notes. So that summary chart, if you read, it's more than enough for consolidated financial statements. Understood? So now, and one point here, whenever you identify any question related to AS or your Ind AS, don't answer in FR perspective. Come out of FR. It's already done. What you have to do, you have to add few words to make it into an audit answer. Let's say they have asked on the concept of permanent adjustments and present adjustments. Consolidation adjustments are two types. One is present and permanent. Just because you have read Ind AS 110 properly, don't write, I'm not interested in your Ind AS 110 knowledge. You have to write, how as an auditor are you going to check? So for all these present adjustments, you have to refer to the memorandum entries. That is what I'm looking for. If we ask you to write examples, yes, but that's what, whenever you see, let's say SA 540 question is asked on financial instruments for your luck. Don't write Ind AS 109, 32 and 107. Not interested. How as an auditor are you going to deal with that? So just slightly modify your answers accordingly. Understood? So this is very important. Here and there, please check. As an auditor, the person should check ABC. Whatever you know in accounts only right, but as an auditor, he has to check those words, those adjectives, those verbs will be important in your answer to make it into an auditing answer than an FR answer. Understood? So that's what you have to focus. And then come to audit under fiscal loss. What is an audit under fiscal loss? Covers only one. Earlier we had GST, now we don't have. So only one, tax audit. Form 3CA, 3CA, 3CD, 3CB, 3CD. Now we have understood each and every clause in the class. So all clauses seems to be important, but from what I have been able to understand is clause 21 is very important. Please go through all the clauses, because clause 21 talks about all the disallowances. That is where the revenue department is interested in, right? So then clause 31 talks about your 269 SS, T and ST. So clause 31 is important. Clause 42 is important. That is specified financial transactions. Okay. Then clause 17, clause 13 talks about, clause 17 is this gift income provisions. No, 29 is gift income. 13 talks about ICDS. ICDS adjustments, especially Ind AS entities, all the adjustments will be routed through ICDS. Okay, that's why it becomes important. Clause 22 is important and clause 29B becomes important. So your focus should be on these clauses. So compulsory question, tax audit is compulsory. Again, please don't write your income tax knowledge here. If just because a question is asking on 43B, don't start explaining what 43B is. Don't start
Why is Shinijay removed, sir?
Where is
Remove, sir.
Okay.
So sorry for that commercial break that we all wanted. So after that, we have to focus on, don't write, as I was mentioning, don't write your income tax act here. We are not interested. What we are interested in, how it gets reported in your 3CD clause. So the chart, remember, for example, 43B, outstanding at the beginning of the period, paid during the year. Outstanding at the end of the year, paid within the 139(1) due date. That is what you have to write. Please be very mindful when you answer these questions. Don't think that if I write income tax act provisions, I will get 2 marks. No, they're not interested in giving you any marks, right? So don't do that. Then please take up Ashok sir area of expertise, audit of banks. Please, that's very important, audit of banks. Now we have discussed Certain important areas under audit of banks is special focus should be on definitely NPS because that's one of the biggest assets. SLR requirements. Remember, we even solved an MCQ question. Computation of demand and time liabilities position. That MCQ, what are to be included, what are to be excluded. That is important. Audit procedures needs to be checked on the SLR requirements. Take up the audit of banks. Remember, we have marked certain important points that you need to glance. Then immediately after that, are you all feeling overwhelmed already? Or is it like I'm talking in a fast forwarded tone? No, so much is there for me to cover. I am actually really under the stress to cover. So much is there to give you. Next is NBFCs. Audit of NBFCs is also very similar to audit of banks. Now, classification of NPF, please be very careful. It is based on whether you are systematically important or systematically non-important NBFCs. Classification is important. Types of NBFCs, special focus is on CIC. Why? CIC exemption is there. What is CIC?
Core
Core
investment.
investment company.
Very good. Core investment company. That what is the limit? The exemption is there for how much asset base?
100
Up
crores.
till
100.
very good. 100 crores. Up to 100 crores, you need not get the registration from the RBI. And the reporting requirements for deposit accepting NBFCs. Remember, audit procedures they have given. Whether they have passed resolution for accepting deposits, whether are there any defaults in repaying the deposits, whether they have maintained adequate liquid assets as per the law, right? All those are the reporting requirements that you as an auditor should do. That is important. See, always understand in audit, what type of question they might ask you is what concerns you as an auditor than the law, because NBFC is a law. So what concerns you as an auditor is what their focus will be. So reporting, audit reporting of these will become important. And types of fraud. Remember, we discussed types of fraud: cheating, misappropriation of funds, criminal breach of trust, irregularities in foreign exchange, cash shortages. That is very important. Forgery, right? Illegal gratification. All those things are types of frauds important from the exam perspective. Normally, we miss that. So that is the area. And then differences between Division 2 and Division 3. You now already are having knowledge about Division 2. There is one last, see, in all the chapters, what is the psychology? We are in the hurry to complete the chapters. So the last part, we will skip. Last part, they will pick. And points which are there in the box. Hey, idella box, we will skip. No, you should not do. That box area, the last part you have to read. A bit careful. So the last part, Division 2 and Division 3 differences they have given. That is important. Okay. After this, take up audit of insurance companies. Definition of insurer is important under audit of insurance company, and reinsurance treaties. Treaties are important. Proportional, non-proportional, facultative. All those are important from the exam perspective. Then take up LODA regulations. Are you able to understand this? See, all these are already discussed. It's just that I'm just making you know that these are there. LODA regulations, don't spend much of time here. Please I'm telling you, don't spend much of time here because it is an area in law. What you have to understand is audit committee. Please go through audit committee because there is an amendment. So for that, you have to refer to RTP, which I'm going to discuss with you. So RTP amendment is there in audit committee. In class also we have discussed. Please focus on audit committee provisions. And then board composition requirements and all is there. If you have time, please glance. Otherwise, at least completely read the audit committee requirements and list of qualifications to be given by the auditor. Board composition is not proper. 50% is not independent directors. Audit committee does not have powers, mandatory review powers. See, if you read that, no, you'll know what are all the requirements that the entity is required to have. So when you read that, you can might as well answer the MCQ question on the board also. Are you all able to understand? Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
great.
Yes, sir.
Then take up. How is the Josh? You still
Hi.
have the Josh? Very good, very good. Next, then take up due diligence and forensic audit. Due diligence, very important. Overvalued assets and hidden liabilities. That one concept. Examples are there. Overvalued assets are what? Your impairment losses, and then assets which have no use, goodwill, fictitious assets, and hidden liabilities are what? All the claims, contingent liabilities. All those are the examples of hidden liabilities. Then forensic audit, what is important? The skills and what is the other one? Skills and the characteristics. So that is possible area for MCQ, but more important is what are the techniques that he is going to use as a forensic auditor. This is important. Okay, complete this. See, now if you see, hey man, you're discussing audit, no, there is one big area called standards. Where is that coming? See, that's why when you are preparing for the examination, this is how you have to read. If you see, all these chapters are having 4 marks, 5 marks, 4 marks, 5 marks. In audit, there is one concept which we have discussed and comfortably forgotten, I guess. Individually, it may not be material, but when it is aggregated, it becomes material. So this is what it is. Performance materiality is actually lower than the materiality anyway. Let's not get technical. Now, then audit of PSUs is important. Here, if you have time, I mean, it's a very general statement for me to make it easy. If you have time, go through everything. It's not possible. At least focus contents on the audit report of C&AG to be submitted to the parliament. I've told in the class also, I don't know why examiners are in love with this concept. There are 4 points which is there in this particular concept. Please read this. And then principles of propriety. Basically, it should not benefit the particular group of people or religion, or the person who's in charge should not have any other interest. Then it should not be extravaganza generally. Then efficiency, effectiveness, audit, the concepts, the questions are there. No, what is efficiency? It's only on the resource. Effectiveness is the achievement of the objectives. That is what you need to focus. If you do this, no, almost you'll be covering 65 to 70 marks. 65 marks on your 70, I'm telling. On 70 is what I'm telling. Okay, so 30 is still there. We have to discuss on that as well. Then we have to move to essays. So what you have to do by tomorrow afternoon or by tomorrow late evening at least, you should be done with up till serial number what? Serial number 13. That should be your target. Then take up standards for the rest of the day. Tomorrow, I'm trying to break your day into 2 parts. One allied and the other one is standards. Because standards itself, if you take up, you will not be able to complete it. Let's accept the fact, right? So then take up the standards and first focus on the important standards. And then if time permits, you can go through the rest as well. Now, essay 200, we'll start with that. Inherent limitations to audit other areas. So there are 4 topics. Essay 250, Essay 550, Essay 570, and Essay 240. Identification of related parties, going concern, fraud reporting, and then lastly the what else? Consideration of laws and regulations. These are other areas which makes difficult for an auditor to obtain the evidence, right? So that others is very, very important for you to remember these 4 points. Then immediately move to Essay 550 because it's the standard at final becomes more relevant. Now, I have given you certain paras that you have to compulsorily go through. Para 22 is important. Identification of previously unidentified RTPs. What you have to do as an auditor if you identify a related party which was not earlier identified. That is important. Para 22 and 23. Significant transactions outside entities, normal course of business. Let's say they're normal manufacturing entity, but they've given so many loans and advances. Right? So what you have to do, that is important. And then records and documents to identify the RPT. This is important. Understood? Then come to Essay 240, fraud risk factors. Read the examples of fraud risk factors for both fraudulent financial reporting and misappropriation of assets. Incentives or pressures, opportunities, attitudes or rationalization. That is very, very important. Examples for all these 3, at least three examples you remember. And then para 38 is important. If you as an auditor encounter an exceptional situation, what you should do when you quit the engagement, what is your responsibility is what you have to write. Then please focus on Essay 220. Don't ignore Essay 200 concept. Don't think it is interrelated concept. No, 220 is a favorite area for examiners because it's quality. And as a chartered accountant, you have to ensure quality, right? So read Essay 220 and SQC1, especially the concept of EQCR, Engagement Quality Control Review. And as read with SQC1, what are the firm's policies? HEAL me is what we say. That human relations, ethical requirements, and then client acceptance and continuance, then all those areas are important. Then Essay 540, read A2, Para A2, that application guide A2, estimates having lower risk of material misstatement. A2 and A3, what are the accounting estimates where the risk of material misstatement is higher, is what you have to read and understand. Understood? These 2 are very important from 540 perspective. Then essay 250, loss affecting the financial statements, loss indirectly affecting the financial statements. Here, what you as an auditor, your responsibility is with respect to compliance with laws and regulations. That the auditor's responsibility paragraph you have to read. Okay. Now, then please take up essay 299. There, essay 299. What is the responsibility of the joint auditors when the works are not divided? What are the responsibilities when they're divided? When they're not, there is one particular paragraph: jointly and several responsibility of the auditors. And the joint auditors are not bound by the views of the majority auditor. 5 auditors are giving the unqualified opinion or unmodified opinion. 1 auditor wants to give modified. He still has an option to go ahead and give unmodified opinion. Majority doesn't work there. Then take up essay 450, a general reading, evaluation of identified misstatements, just a general glance. And then take up essay 501, inventory, very important. Inventory count performed at a date other than the balance sheet date. That paragraph is important. And then there are 3 things: segment reporting and the litigations. Segment reporting and litigations. What is segment reporting? Please connect your in 108 knowledge and write from the auditing perspective. Auditor should check the chief, what is it called, CODM, right? The CODM should, whether he is able to identify the reportable segments, whether it is done, processes there or not, right? If you don't know anything, no, clueless, right? Internal controls. One point is there with us always: whether the internal controls with respect to the identification of operating segments are effective. That's what you grade. 1 mark you will definitely get. This is definitely a valid point. Then essay 505, if the management refuses to send a confirmation request, what auditor should do? Okay, reasons for refusal, justification for the same, alternate audit procedures. If alternate audit procedures doesn't provide the evidence, modification according to essay 705. That closes the deal. Then come to essay 402, very important, is complementary control definition. And what are the audit considerations that you as an auditor of the user entity is what you need to understand. User entity, service organization, sub-service organization, very important. Type 1 report, type 2 report. Type 1 report, design and operating effectiveness. Type 2, design. No, type 1 only talks about D. D&D, description and design. Type 2 talks about description, design, and operating effectiveness of those controls. That is what is important. Essay 520, then come to essay 520, analytical procedures, especially analytical procedures performed at the end of the year. As an auditor, when you're drawing an overall conclusion on the financial statements, what analytical procedures are you going to perform is what you need to read through. I think this, at least these paras are manageable, right? I'm not giving you something which you can't digest. It is still manageable because I've already broken down it into smaller points. And even in these chapters, what you have to read, I've already made. So this is to the best of my estimate. This is my best estimate. It may be possible, may not be possible, but if you read this, pretty much you will be able to summarize these standards. You can't really sit and read all the paragraphs in the standards, and it's not possible also. Next comes important definitions. What definitions are important for you to remember? At least 1 round of reading, please do. Applicable financial reporting framework, very important. Don't just stop there. There are 2 parts. One is compliance framework and fair presentation framework. Fair presentation framework has 2 things. Acknowledges the responsibility of providing more and more disclosures than required by the law to achieve fair presentation. Only in rare situation, auditors, the entity is expected to depart from the compliance or depart from the requirement of a standard just to ensure fair presentation. And compliance framework doesn't have those 2 acknowledgements. So your main principle of audit, whether to give a true and fair view or whether it is prepared in all material respects, is based on whether it is a fair presentation framework or a compliance framework. That's why it's important. Significant deficiency, the deficiency in internal control. What is it? Very simple. In the auditor's professional judgment, the controls are unable to prevent, detect, correct material misstatements on a timely basis, or the controls itself is missing. That is a deficiency. What is a significant deficiency which in the auditor's professional judgment requires, merits the attention of TCWG and management. Then estimation uncertainty, very important, which is covering from which essay? Estimation uncertainty. Very good. Essay 540. What is estimation uncertainty? So, which lacks precision. Where your estimate is lacking precision. That definition is important. Sampling risk, very important. 2 erroneous conclusions When in the case of test of controls, controls are not effective, when in fact it is. In the case of test of details, misstatement exists, when in fact it does not. This affects the audit efficiency because you require more time and effort to prove that your initial conclusions were not right. Then the second one is very dangerous. Controls, there are no deviations based on a sample, but in fact deviations exist. There are no misstatements, but in fact the misstatement exists. This leads to audit effectiveness because you are likely to give an inappropriate opinion. Audit risk is very important. Risk of expressing inappropriate opinion when financial statements are materially misstated. Giving a qualified opinion when you're required to give an unmodified opinion is not an audit risk. Please understand that. They might ask you this question. An audit risk is a combination of RSMM and detection risk. Definition of RSMM, inherent risk, control risk, and detection risk is important. Definition of subsequent event is important because they might ask you an MCQ question. What is a subsequent event? That from the date of the financial statements till the date the auditor signs the auditor's report and the information that comes to the auditor's knowledge. Just the information. Why? Because once he signs the audit report, his responsibility ends there. He need not do any audit procedure. Only the information that comes to his attention. That's what you need to do. Then engagement, quality control, review definition. Reviewer definition is important, which is coming from your 220 read with SQC 1. The negative confirmation is important from the SA 505. And here, I forgot to mention one. What are the points that auditor should keep in mind when he decides to do a negative confirmation? See, negative confirmation can only be done when the risk of material misstatement is lower, when the auditor wants to rely on other audit procedures, and when the auditor has already obtained evidence on this particular assertion. So that is important conditions. Then I've already discussed this. Assertions and its types. Class of transactions, account balances, and presentation and disclosure. OCCA, OC occurrence, completeness, cutoff, classification, accuracy. Then existence, rights and obligations, valuation, completeness. Then a combination of these two is therefore presentation and disclosure. Material uncertainty is coming from your SA 570, events and conditions that may cause a significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. 3 examples: operating, financing, others. Please remember at least three examples from these areas. They might ask you a question. Then performance materiality, very technical definition you have to read. Materiality said and the lower than the materiality level to ensure that the possibility of the misstatements exceeding materiality is lowered. That is the definition of performance materiality. Tolerable misstatement, tolerable rate of deviation again is coming from your sampling chapter. Tolerable misstatement actually is the performance materiality for a sample in the case of test of details, and the rate of deviation is there for the controls. So that is what you have to understand. Remember, now at least are you able to connect? These are at least the names of the topics. If you don't know what is the inside, at least you know the names. No? So that's what I wanted to draw your attention. Key audit matter, AOM, sorry, emphasis of matter paragraph. So this is what is the indicative list of study. By doing this, you would be easily able to score at least 50 plus in the audit examination. Now, what you have to compulsorily do, you have to go through your RTP. The reason why you should go through your RTP is one question, at least generally they have the tendency to repeat. I don't know if you have observed this phenomenon in your FR and SFR, but generally one question would appear from the RTP area. So please go through the RTP now itself. After you complete this R2R session, go through RTP and then take a professional ethics. It's just the revision that we are doing anyway, right? So please go through that. At least the questions that you read to understand what is the level at which the questions are being framed for you to answer. This is what you have to do. Then take up one previous year paper. Don't answer anything. Don't think that what is the answer for this question. I'm not able to get it. You will not get it at this point because you're under pressure. What you have to do, at least figure out from which area this question is coming from. Formulate something. I know. Okay, I have to write this. When you have to do this, after completing that reading, don't take up the question paper now because you feel that, oh, I don't know anything. You go through this indicative order of study and then take up one paper to get the confidence. It's just assuring you, reassuring that you know everything. That's what you have to do. And third important thing, this is the first exam that you would be writing an MCQ with the descriptive part together. So what should your approach be? Very, very simple. Don't make any distinction between MCQ and objective as far as your preparation is concerned. When you are preparing for descriptive, you will be anyway preparing for objective. So don't waste time. Oh, what I should do for MCQ, what I should do for MCQ. No need. What you should do is, the moment you get the question paper, 15 minutes reading time will be there, no? Please take the MCQ booklet and go through the paper once. There you divide it into two parts. One, first part where these questions are very straightforward, where you know the answer for sure. Those questions you know. First 5 minutes, figure out those two. Question 1 I know, question 2 I know, question 3 I know. Do like that. Then the rest 10 minutes time, spend 5 minutes time on case study. So now you will get questions in two parts. One in the form of case study, one independent MCQ. Case study means what? There will be one big paragraph followed by some questions. What I have told in the class, and I'm going to repeat it now, don't read the case study directly. I'm telling you, don't read the case study. Go through the question, direct cut to the chase. Take the question. Part A. Let's say question 1 is talking about ABC is a big multinational company having 85 branches across the country. They have this, they have incorporated the EI in automated environment. All those nonsense they have told. Don't read. Come to the question. What is that they want? By doing that, you will be saving time. Second, you know what para I have to read, where I have to figure out. It's like, remember in school, we had reading comprehension. One big passage they used to give and 4 questions they used to ask. Same way case study you should do. Don't go through that story. Just to go through the questions and come back to the case study. By doing that, you will be saving a substantial amount of time. Why? If you read the case study, again you want to go back and read because you feel that I have forgotten the question. So read through the questions, and then sometimes you may not require the case study at all. You can directly answer that question. That is what you have to do. Understood? Then the rest 5 minutes, go through your descriptive part of the paper. Okay, descriptive part of the paper. Don't normally read the first question, as Shadiza will always say. First question will have certain bouncer questions. Start with the third or fourth question because that will be fairly a simple one to start with. And you can start with any order of your choice. And now please be very careful. You will be given OMR. So please bubble it properly. And I suppose you have to use pencils only to mark, not pen, right? So take HB pencil. If you don't have, please sharpen it now itself so that you're all prepared. In the examination hall, don't sharp and don't pencil nib murdo. Again, you have to take. Don't use pen pencils. Huh? So some of us will have the habit of using pen pencils. Don't use normal pencil only. Use and shade it properly. And OMR also you have to write everything. And in the descriptive paper also you have to write everything. So please be very quick once you get. Don't look here and there. Yesterday that guy came, today he has not come. Probably he might have got exemption or he might have been even overwhelmed with SFM. Don't think anything of that sort. Who is this invigilator? From day one, this person only is coming. Why no invigilator is coming to my class? Don't think all of that. It's okay. Let it be whoever it is. You like it or you don't like it, and they are going to disturb you, right? You have to sign. And here you have to sign for collecting that OMRs, MCQ booklet and all. So time will be going for a waste. So please ensure that those 15 minutes you read the questions and then apply your mind. When it comes to descriptive part of the questions, normally you will have case studies, especially at final, there will be one big paragraph. Forget about first to 4 lines. I have also told you in the class, the last 2 lines of the question, read 2 times. If you want, read it for my satisfaction, read 1 more time. 3 times you read, you will understand what I should write. So the case study is very nice. CIX was a very, very brilliant person who got a rank. Okay, why are you interested at 2 to 5 p.m. now? He's got a rank. I should also get a rank. So read through the last 2 lines of the question, which talks about what you have to write. We describe the factors responsible for this. That is where my concern is. Whether he has got a rank, whether that entity is an MNC or otherwise, I'm not interested. So the last 2 lines of the question, read 2-3 times before you answer. Okay? That's what you have to do. And please, don't, nobody is interested in your stories. Don't write multiple pages. And don't get overwhelmed by people taking additional sheets. Let them take 30 additional sheets. You write with the pace, with the quantity that you are comfortable with. That just because I take additionals doesn't mean that I'll get good marks. By doing that, you are irritating examiner. And now that it's all computerized also, my eyes will be strained. Ella 0 So don't get bothered about what others are doing. And please carry calculators. Why? Because NBFC limits and all, they might ask you. NBFC limits and all, they might ask you, and there may be some small computations requirement. So please take calculators. Carry 2-3 extra pencils, pens, and all. You have to write in what pen, all those things. Don't write Om Shri Swastik. That's anyway, which you all know. Now, one additional point which I wanted to tell you: please go through each and every standards name. In class, we have done Stotra, Shuklam Bharadaram, like that. We have done standards. But now, if you have the tendency of forgetting, please once sit and open the standards, the preface, you have the names of all standards. Why? I'll tell you. The scheme of marking clearly mentions how your marks is divided. Let's say a question is asked for 4 marks. That is not given for the main content that we think is the answer. It will be split into 1 mark for writing the appropriate names of the standard or writing your initial observation. Let's say they're asking a question on the firm's quality control practices. Now, if you write as per SQC1, standards on quality control on historical audit of historical financial information, review of financial information, and assurance services, this is what it is. You will get 1 mark. So, writing the names of the essays, writing the names of the Companies Act sections, professional ethics clause numbers gives you at least 1 mark. So don't miss on that, right? Whether you see, let's say they've asked the question on key audit matters. What are the, please, and you see, nowadays they don't ask in light of SI 705 explain. They'll discuss with reference to relevant standards on auditing. So now, by at least going through the names of the standard, you don't, let's say it's a compulsory question, you don't know what to write. At least if you know that this is from SA 505, and if you have written as per SA 505 within the bracket external confirmation, you'll get 1 mark. And something related to that standard you write, you will definitely get 1 mark. 1 mark here, 1 mark there, here and there. You will definitely score at least 5 to 6 marks. And 5 to 6 marks on 70 is really, really great. So please keep that in your mind. There is no negative marking. So in MCQs, there is no negative marking. So please answer all the questions. And if you have doubts, you mark that and then come back. Come back after, see, let's say that's how I did. When there were questions which are very, very straightforward, I answered it. Then I went to write descriptive questions. I came back to MCQs and I figured out the questions where I had a doubt. So don't think too much in MCQ because you'll get confused. Go by your instinct. If you don't underline this, if you underline Rangoli, if you don't know anything, go by your instinct. If you don't know, if you know, please don't go by your instinct. If you know, right, what is the right ones? If you don't know, normally first time when you see an option, because there is no doubt. Only when you read through the other options, the doubt starts coming into your mind. So when you have read the question for the very first time, your mind and thought process is fresh. So the answer that you would have probably figured it out will be right. In class also you would have seen, sir, I thought, but then I got confused with what Kondaya said. Right. So that's what will happen in exams also. So here in exams, there will be no other person to come and give you viewpoints, but you yourself will get confused by reading the other examples or the options. So that's what you have to keep in your mind. Understood? So now I know I'm very sure that you have read and you have done with so much of hard work. Things will definitely fall in place. You might feel that, oh, so much is there, I don't know anything. That anything will turn out into something and something will become relevant in the exam and you will still pass. So have that positive mindset and write properly whatever you know. Whatever you might feel that it is not a standard answer, it's okay. You are not deciding. You are not the evaluator. No. There is one more person who is going to evaluate. And he is not as expert as you are because you're reading. That person would have read. Like even if you ask me one paper to write, I may probably not clear. Right? Because it's been quite some time that I've read everything properly in place. So you will still get marks. So please have that positive mindset. And MCQ, whenever you have MCQ, you should always make it your strength. Out of 30, please, as my friend, you please promise that you get at least 25. You think like that, it will work. At least 25 you get. In no circumstance you can score below 45. I'm not bothered about scoring 40. Below 45 also you cannot get. Okay. So please, with all these inputs from my end, please try to make the best out of it and read it with calm and composement. See, okay, in this 18 chapters, you are not in a position to complete, let's say, 7 chapters. Okay, fine. See, a known devil is better than an unknown angel. Those chapters that you have read might be a savior. Forget about those 7 chapters which you couldn't read it for whatever reasons it is. You can't go back and read. We don't have time, right? As though we would have read if we had time. It's a different story for our discussion. But what I'm trying to say is, whatever you have read, have confidence. Have confidence and read it with confidence. You have to read it thoroughly, such that with each chapter that you put a tick after the conclusion, that much of marks should be there inside your pocket. Virtual pocket, it should be there. You're able to understand. So I see that there is tension in your mind, the tension in your face, and it's very, very natural to happen. And then please do read well, read properly. As I said, I have no other quotes, but I have to tell the same thing over and over again. That's why it's called refresh to relax, or revise to do whatever you want to. All the very best. Do well. I'm sure that you are going to perform really, really well. I expect exemptions in audit from all of you. This is certainly possible. If I have scored 63 on it, you can score definitely more than that. Without a doubt, you can perform really, really well. On that positive note, have good sleep, which is very important. Eat food properly on a timely basis. Don't change your study pattern now. Okay, have that good amount of sleep and then start with a positive mindset. I am sure that you are going to do really, really well. Please keep your mindset in a composed manner. CA exams is all about your temperament, your emotional stability to handle pressures and tensions. So don't fall for that, and don't eat biscuits which ICI is giving. Pedigree is that, those are all pedigree for you. I'm going to give you Oreo for everybody. I'm going to send Oreo biscuits. Don't eat those biscuits which is there in the examination. All the very best. I wish you the best. Thank you. Have a nice day. Good night. I hope this session was of some use to you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your precious time at this point in time. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
So can you share the PDF?
Yes. You want me to share it in the thing?
WhatsApp. Yes, sir. I can share it to the group.
Okay, I'll
Class
do that.
group.
Yes, I'll do that.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Wish you the
Thank you, sir.
same. Have a great day.
You too. Bye. Can I leave?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.